now they are criminal activity.
Yep.
And that's insanity.
Yes.
And
Too much California spreading around.
Yep, absolutely.
There was a show on, I can't remember what channel, but it was about a gun store and a gunsmith just to the west of Denver, up in the mountains there. I cannot remember the name of that show, but it was so funny because I can remember people going in there and buying stuff and talking about things, and that store doesn't exist anymore because they shut it down because it was getting too much publicity. So the state found a little tiny problem and shut them down and just took their business for no reason. And that's on top of the other stuff that they've already done there. They've got a magazine size cap there, but it's stupid. It's 17.
What?
Because it happened after the
How
guy.
did they come up with these arbitrary numbers like 17?
Well, this one. So the way they came up with this one was the guy that shot up the theater in Aurora. I can't remember his name. He had crazy blue hair. He was a nut job.
Of course, he had blue hair.
Yeah. So he used a semi-automatic rifle. So what they did was they looked at what's the biggest pistol magazine that's the standard size, 17. So they banned everything larger than 17. So that's how they came up with that number. But it makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense. And there's also so many loopholes. So if you go into a gun store in Colorado, you can buy the magazine in pieces and put it together yourself, and then it can be 30 rounds. So, yeah, it's so stupid. So
if you have some DIY knowledge.
Yeah, no, it's not even DIY. Like companies literally make stamped together kits that you can just go in and buy. So you can buy up to a 17, or you can just buy a stamped together kit like Legos. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's a guy in Post Falls, Idaho. His name's Kevin, and he actually, right before COVID hit, he actually moved his whole family and business from just outside of Portland in Oregon to Idaho because they were, remember in Oregon right before COVID, all of the Republicans disappeared when they were trying to vote on that.
Yeah, they went out of state.
They went out of state and all hid.
Yeah.
Well, that only delayed it until COVID happened, and then they were after COVID, they went to go pick it up again. But it was only a small delay, and nobody expected COVID. But they were going to make anyone who possessed a magazine over 30 rounds, or over 10 rounds, actually, anything over 10 rounds.
Hi again, Cynthiana. Thanks for rejoining.
Over 10 rounds was going to be a felony.
Whoa.
And he goes, I have a warehouse of 30,000 felonies. I can't live here. I can't have my family here. So he literally packed up his whole business and moved it to Post Falls, and now he owns like U.S. Tactical Supply.
Okay.
And it's a great place. And Kevin's
seen videos on him.
Yeah, he's a great dude. And so great family, but that's the type of stuff that, man.
Yep. You know what's even scarier than that is you mentioned the Republicans leaving. They left the state.
Yeah.
And
they all
hid.
hiding.
The Oregon legislature is either pending and probably going to pass or has passed now because they have a supermajority, a law to make that illegal. So if those legislatures did that again, they could be thrown in jail.
Yeah.
Like the power, I mean, it's the most one-sided thing. It's the closest thing to tyrannical dictatorship you're going to find.
Yeah.
Like it's the good old days of the Roman Imperium where, you have a governor that essentially can tell the legislature what to do and they just rubber stamp it.
Yeah.
There's no opposition.
Do you think that we're 6 days into a new presidency, and normally presidencies don't typically affect state governance all that much, to some degree, but not really a lot, right? However, with the current administration and a lot of the the EOs that he's putting through right now, they are actually affecting a lot of the state governance on a lot of different things, and in a lot of different areas, from immigration and stuff that they're saying that we're going to have the sanctuary cities or states saying, hey, we're not going to abide, and him going, okay, well, then you're not getting federal funding, and throwing the hammer down on him a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's going to make it too busy for them to really create a lot of fuckery within their own state legislatures because they're going to be too
Tied up
with him? And
I don't think they're going to care because the attorney generals in the states, all they have to do is file federal lawsuits, and you'll
then tie it up.
find a judge that'll put a temporary restraining order on it, and then it's about playing the long game for them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you can't run again. This is term 2.
He's only going to be here for 4 years.
Yep.
You can keep stuff tied up in federal courts for 4 years, no problem.
Right.
Or
That's what I said
at least
a
the
couple
vast
weeks ago.
majority of it. You keep the vast majority of it there. Yeah, you might lose 1 or 2 if it makes it to the Supreme Court on particularly like immigration and some of that stuff that they can classify as emergency
Right.
and
Yeah.
push through. But it's almost to the benefits of these states that are pissed off to not declare it as an emergency. Just put it in the federal court regularly and then just take your hands off the wheel.
And something that
And that's
viewers
wrong, too.
might not know is that it turns out the Supreme Court is just like the regular court, except that it has sour cream and tomatoes.
That is true. Yeah.
Making me hungry again.
Yeah, not me. I'm stuffed.
You eat a lot, huh?
I typically don't eat while I work, so I usually have a huge appetite by the end of the day because it's kind of like an OMAD, 1 meal a day, and I make up for not eating all day.
We destroy. How many wings did we destroy tonight? Between
7
us?
pounds.
7 pounds.
7 pounds.
Pounds of wings.
Yeah,
7 pounds of wings, 5 desserts.
yeah. I had those.
There's like egg rolls.
Southwest egg rolls, a burger.
Yeah.
I had a burger and a salad.
I was eating napkins at one point.
A few beers.
Yeah.
Well, you were eating Play-Doh too, but we had a chat about that.
That's true. I'm not allowed to do that in public
I
anymore.
told you don't get to use paste as the jam.
Yeah.
Don't paste.
Dude, you want to talk about things that are screwed up with people eating stuff and kids and all that, like the reference there?
Yeah, what's new?
You
No more
should-
Tide Pods?
No, you should spend some time in an elementary school these days, particularly in the state of
I try not
Washington.
I try to stay away from that and
should-
possibly Chuck E. Cheese table for
You
one.
should do that, but my daughter spent some time in an elementary school over break, helping out teaching, and she was telling me that they full on have 2 classrooms. Mind you, this is a kindergarten, so 5-6-year-olds and up. They have a couple of classrooms that they have to keep baby gates on because they have kids that are, we'll say, trying to escape all the time and screaming and yelling, and then you have like regular classrooms that are just normal, and these kids are going, what's going on in these classrooms? And the staff is, particularly the administration, is preoccupied with what's going on in those classrooms. And then they take all the kids that are in those classrooms that have a whole myriad of problems, developmental or whatnot, and they put them into the regular classrooms. And these kids go into the regular classrooms and cause scenes and cause resource drain. And it's the same thing that you see in a lot of other cases of we're catering to, like when everyone says they're catering to the 1%.
The lowest common denominator.
Yeah, they cater to that 1%, and the other 99% is paying for it. Like, you want to be angry about something, go spend some time in an elementary school volunteering and just look around at what you see.
Yeah, but-
It'll be eye-opening for you.
Curtis, what are they eating though? You said they were eating. The kindergartners were eating something. I was like, what are they eating?
Crayons,
What are they eating?
Sand.
Sand.
Each other.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. There's a conch shell just being carried around.
There's like little, yeah. There's like, like the little, have you ever seen it looks like styrofoam, but you can kind of mash it together.
Oh yeah, that's
like that.
delicious.
Yeah, some kid ate like, I want to say like 3 gallons worth of that.
Good God.
Oh, geez.
One day Darwin will reap his bountiful harvest.
It's just crazy though. Like this stuff is crazy.
Well,
These days.
that kid will run for government at some point in time.
He probably won't have to run for governor. By the time they get there in Washington anyway, he'll just get handed a job.
As long as he has the right party next to his name in Washington, he'll win.
Yep.
No matter who he runs against.
Yep.
That's sad and true. Like, as I get older, I'm constantly reminded of like when my parents were like, "Oh, your generation's doomed" and whatever. Because I kind of think the same thing of the one behind me a little bit. And now that I'm like routinely in places where I get to see folks like this interact early in their careers, just the level of expectation coming into like interviews and stuff like that I've hosted, it's wild. It's wild to me to think that like, well, what exactly did you learn while you got a degree in underwater basket weaving from, you know, the College of the Arts and
Lesbian dance study.
lesbian dance theory and all this stuff. And they just storm in expecting like, you know, mid-level management, 6-figure job with no experience. It's wild.
Yeah. The entitlement.
Never held even a first job, and they come in expecting 80 grand a year.
Or a job that's like has absolutely unrelated, you know, like, well, what do you mean about, you know, production, whatever, blah, 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 fluff words for the, oh, well, I just did YouTube videos for a while. Like, sick. I don't think you're qualified to be a network engineer, but you know, hey, I'm glad you came out. You get to see what's inside over here, redacted.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, I mean,
Glad you wore the kitty ears.
but I
That's a
wonder if
nice
that's like
touch.
what my parents thought of us when we were fucking around with skateboards and rock music and
BMX.
Yeah, but at least you were outside doing stuff. You know?
we did go outside.
Like, you were
That's a
outside doing
huge difference.
stuff. You were making friends. Like there's a lot of folks that turn up in the job environment that I've interviewed in the last couple of years that are, we'll say they're the under 27 crowd, and like they don't even know how to socially interact because they just haven't.
The thing that I recognized about that concept, we went outside to play. We were forced to go outside and play, but we also wanted to.
Yes.
But
Some
the
of us were locked
the
out there.
biggest,
Yeah. Locked out. Don't come back until the lights turn on.
Right. And the thing that I think that we actually learned the most about how to interact with other people and ourselves was pain. Physical pain of getting a bicycle pedal to the shin and ripping up your shin, falling off your bike, getting in a little slap box match with a friend that you got a bloody eye or whatever.
Falling into sticker bushes.
Falling
and
into
then
sticker
your brother
bushes.
has to pull
But
you out of them.
Also emotional and mental, like getting in a fight where all 4 of your friends like made fun of you. And being able to process that properly. And I think that actually builds the character that when you don't play outside, when you don't get in a fist fight with your friends or go, I'm going home, and get your feelings hurt and have to process that properly through the natural order of growing up. That's you're getting those type of people who've never been told no, who've never had their feelings hurt, who've never had any physical pain, so they don't understand how to process any of
They're
that.
missing coping mechanisms too,
Yes.
that you develop with all this stuff that you just said, the adversity of just growing up around random people, and stuff happening as a kid. There's certain coping mechanisms you develop that just aren't there now.
Enough copium.
They also didn't learn how to help.
Yeah.
I went to a funeral for one of my childhood friend's father who passed away recently, and there were 4 of my friends from like first to like early high school that were there. And one of them reminded me of a time when we were down riding BMX bikes, probably like 1986 or so. And I flipped over the handlebars and smashed my face into a BMX jump, and broke my nose, there's blood everywhere. But 2 of those guys were there, and they knew how to help me, and they did. They didn't pull their phone out and turn it on and be like, "Oh, look at this jackass!" Like, they helped me, right? And they learned that
They didn't
that
make it
skill.
a streaming moment.
That's the coping mechanism.
I'm like, now there's blood everywhere, and it is a streaming moment.
Hey,
I am part of the problem.
yeah, exactly. Look at this dickhead. He's bleeding everywhere.
He's lying. No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Peter, we haven't heard from you in a second. Is it still your way to make friends by causing pain?
All the time. I find that to be my choice method of it. In fact, the guy that sold me my house, I kicked him right in the dick in 6th grade.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is it real? That's right.
Is that how you get people to sell you houses? Because man,
In Washington,
At signing, did you kick him
hey
in your
Aaron, are you
Johnson
watching
again?
this? I'm talking to my wife now. Like I gotta go.
just for
I gotta go
tradition.
dick kicking in order for us to go buy a house these days. All right.
Dude, yeah.
Pick a person, Aaron. Any guy, I'll kick him in the dick. We'll buy some property when I get home.
When you buy a house, because I didn't think this through, when you get to that point, we have to have enough of a space to have that John Wick 4 scene where it's got that
yeah.
top-down aerial view where we're blasting Dragon's Breath.
Dragon's Breath scene?
Like probably
Yeah.
dummies or other
I
stuff.
will make
but
sure that my dream house has the whole center of it is the
break
that
room?
scene. Yeah, a break room.
Yeah.
and it'll be exactly that. We'll just Dragon Breath.
Have we talked to you
a bunch
about
of
this
homeless
concept?
people or something.
Okay, so what it is a room where you can just lock yourself into it and just break shit and
Yeah.
rage hard. The break room.
Oh, rage room.
Smash stuff, just whatever you need, and then that's it. Then you're like, you take it all out.
It's like
and you
having a
come back
mud
to work.
room off to the side, but like you just go to like Goodwill or like a window store or something like that. You just fill it full of stuff, and then you have like a jumpsuit that
Yeah.
sits there and some goggles. And if you're in one of those moods, you just go into that room, and it's got a sound system that plays the meanest pissed off music you can find, and you just spend an hour smashing shit, and then you're done. You come back in, you have that conversation with the wife that you just avoided, and everything's good to go. And
I get to do that on a regular when I demo for my job. So yeah, that's fun.
So I
that
recently-
explains you so much. You're
That's
so
why you're
mellow.
probably the most chill, even keeled.
Get it all out on a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I recently did exactly that at a bachelor parties. We did do a rage room. If you're gonna have one, I would highly suggest having a good ventilation system because the one that we went to in Kentucky did not. And let me tell you, glass dust floating around the air.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
the gases
great.
inside some of those bulbs probably.
Yeah.
when you shoot through the windshield, hold your breath.
Yeah.
And they also didn't have
good
us
point.
wearing any masks or anything either, because Kentucky.
Right. Yeah.
So they just glass
Actually-
is good for you. So
I haven't done it yet, but one of the best planned out days I thought that would be the best for relaxing is you go to the rage room and you go smash some shit with your bros. Then you go get a massage afterwards, and then you go to one of those isolation float tanks, which if you haven't done those things are rad. I used to do them all the time. Cool. And then after that, go eat a big steak dinner. There's not a problem in the world that will be able to touch you.
I've been
after that.
struggling with wanting to do one of those sensory deprivation float tank things. I think living alone for the last couple of years has
You did it in here.
has been coming to terms with because for a long while it was like coming to grips with my own head by myself was something I tried to avoid the absolute most. Like
Right.
period.
me too.
I have
You
friends
show
over.
up to visit, and it's like he walks out and he's pasty white.
Yeah, he hasn't seen the sun in a million years.
Right arm is really built.
No, I mean I've had neighbors come do wellness checks, which I actually do appreciate. And they're like, "Are you just hiding from the sun?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just hiding from the sun." But yeah, I've always kind of avoided that because I don't like the whole I can't shut my head off to go to sleep on the regular. So forcing myself into a state like that is something I'm interested in doing for short bursts. So
I was afraid of it when I first
Yeah.
I was like I haven't been alone, since being a father and owning a tattoo shop. I haven't been alone with my own thoughts for even 20 minutes, let alone a full hour of complete silence.
Yeah.
And so it was a little intimidating because I was like, I don't know what's in there. I don't know if I want to go dig
could be
around.
dragons in there. Yeah.
So,
Pandora's box.
but I found it so relaxing because you can do one of two things. You can either, once you get used to it, the first time takes a little getting used to because you're kind of bouncing off the walls a little bit like a screensaver. But once you figure it out, right?
Your shirt's changing colors as you bounce off the wall.
Yeah, you're not wearing a shirt. You're buck naked in those
okay.
things, and because the water and the air temperature is exactly body temperature, so you don't know where the water, the air, and your body end.
Oh.
And so that's part of it, and then you can either be in complete darkness, or they have like dim lighting, and you can be in complete silence, or they play like what I call space whale music.
Space whales.
You know, that whole nonsense that they play
you done
at
this?
spas.
Oh,
And
okay.
So you can pick any of those different varieties of
Yeah.
complete silence or some music, and then you turn it, you know, whatever. But once you get there, you have two
The
options.
masterworks of Phil Collins on the
Yes, yeah, all 7 gigs of it.
Good.
But yeah, you can either process your week and actually kind of go through all the things with an hour of undistracted silence and be able to do that and actually process through some stuff if you want to, or you can use that hour to not think about anything and just blank out.
It's kind of forced meditation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're locked in a place, and you are forced to think about or process or go completely blank and just be there
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I decided that I spent enough time with my own head that whenever I was in there, I was spending more time than I needed to inside my own head. I was not able to go blank, but it's an interesting experience. Like,
Yeah.
particularly when it's completely dark. Like, that's a weird feeling.
I did one right at the beginning of the lockdowns in COVID.
Yeah.
I was like, we had already set it up, and everything had shut down in Spokane except for like that.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right.
That's the last thing open.
They're essential.
It's an essential service somehow.
So me and Aaron went and did them, and like the whole world's like falling apart and chaos all around us. We're like, let's go float in some tanks. It was actually pretty cool.
See, as someone who overanalyzes everything over and over and over again, I feel like that would be terrifying.
Little panic mode for you. Yeah.
That's me too. Like trying to shut your brain down from the 7 or 8 chess moves of what ifs on both sides of any equation is like very
You
difficult.
two
for
are
me to do.
what if pros.
Yeah.
Doom scrolling through our heads.
I have gotten a lot better over the years. Like I used to just, internally just freak out. There's no plan B. This will have to be this way. And I think that's changed a little bit, but yeah, it's hard not to fall into the what if landslide.
You two what if yourselves right into like the most
What if?
destructive possible outcome of any situation known to man. It's funny too because like I've seen you two both do it in like the same scenario, right? And you'll both reach the exact same conclusion. And I'll hear the exact. It's like you're twins going through your thought process, and then you spit things out, and I'm just like, it just makes me laugh sometimes. I'm like, you guys are 2 peas in a pod more than you realize in that regard. But the good news is you both have a common sense these days, and you didn't always.
Well, you've known me longer.
Yeah, exactly. to grab yourself, yeah, you might know him to be able to grab yourself by the bootstraps and be like, no, that's ridiculous. Okay, we need to back that off about 10 degrees. So it's growth, right?
No, it's Angel. You know, I've known him since he was like 15, and he's been resilient, consistently resilient, but always cautious. But he always played everything by a chess move, and he always made sure that he was making the proper move, and would check in with me or somebody else that he trusted and go, is this the right move? But not always. Sometimes he just kind of.
There was a couple trips to Taiwan.
At least it wasn't Thailand.
Yeah, not Thailand. At least there's that.
Yeah.
A lot of wrong choices there.
But for the most part, no, he's been extremely level-headed, but never. He never. I wouldn't say that you at least panicked outside of your own head.
Yeah.
Like you were always very kind of controlled and always made sure that you were planning. I mean, you wouldn't be where you are today if it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Like you are exactly where you need to be because you plan to be there. And I never worried about you of anybody. Like I always knew that if there was a path to pave, you would pave it and get to where you needed to go. And so there was a couple of times like we'd sit in a Sherry's and you're like, I'm not where I want to be at this age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's okay. I wasn't either. You'll get there. And you're like, I know, but like you've got this and this and this. And I was like, I know, but I'm also 6 years older than you. And like, so there is time, and you will get there, and you did.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I'm not where I want to be right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and at that time, like
Yeah.
there were no open doors anywhere I'd go. Work's a dead end job. You know, rent's just going up. Pays nowhere. Seasons are changing again.
Yeah.
Same problem, new face, year after year after fucking year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I had enough. Plus, you know, in that space, there's a lot of dark alleys and skeletons everywhere, and
Yeah,
it was
There's a lot of variables to the area.
it became pretty overwhelming. But
Yeah.
you know,
But and then also during your come up to this point, there were ventures that you went on that if they didn't come to fruition, it was by no fault of yours.
Yeah.
And it was by no fault of the amount of effort you put into a situation that did not end up actually coming, you know, following through or anything like that. But you always turned lemons into lemonade and made stuff happen anyway. So, but cautiously optimistic about your approach to life is how I would overall kind of. Now me, I don't know. I just kind of wing it.
yeah.
I'm a winger.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I do my job. Don't tell anybody.
Well, it's on the internet now.
Just eyeballing stuff.
God,
First logo on shirt.
No, I've just ping ponged through life very luckily, and just like ping ping. Oh, hey, it worked out. So
I love ping pong.
I love luck. Pretty good at it.
You do fall into some pretty crazy, fantastic situations. In the short time that I've known you, it's like, here's a guy that can kind of just fall backwards into like feathers, you know, where you're like, yeah, I'm just going to figure it out. I'll go down there. I planned on buying a shit box and I'm just going to drive home. And it's
that
like,
was the thing. Like,
yeah.
The original plan was for a cheaper car. It was originally going to be like $1,000 beater flying down here, doing IBS.
telling me
with it.
this story again. You had told it, but he was telling it to me when.
And so I was going to get $1,000 car. I was looking on Craigslist a couple months before, planning it out, that I would buy a beater, drive it home to see some bands, like after staying here, drive over to California and see a couple bands on the way up, and then finally see one of the bands that were playing at all three shows for their third show would be in Seattle. So that was like the end destination, getting home. And I was just going to sell the car when I got up there. Lo and behold, we had just driven down your car. So I was kind of on the kick for a Nissan of some sort. It's like, okay, this is interesting. I've never really looked at this platform before.
This was all because the band kicked you off the bus, right?
Yeah, they didn't want another roadie hanging out with them.
Like, who's this guy?
The Atomic Bitch Wax, if
Who's
you're
this guy?
interested
He
in
doesn't
stoner
get
rock.
head.
I know.
Yeah, dude.
His palms are rough.
No,
Gas, grass, or acid. He's not giving any of it.
no, there was Heavy Psych Sounds. Heavy Psych Sounds was playing a huge festival in Joshua Tree. And then they had another one in San Francisco that was great. And yeah, I was looking at 350s and I found one that was pretty sweet. And I was going to be building a deck for him. And so we fronted some of the money that was going to be the profits from that to purchase the car. Got the car, drove away into the sunset, and it's a great story, and I
Shit
love
just
the car.
works out.
Yeah.
Like, not me. Like, how did you get from Henderson to Vegas, bro? I got shot at a bunch. Like, someone stole my wallet. I had to walk home.
Yeah. Well, you have the worst luck with stupid shit, like food orders.
Yeah,
It's so
Like
bad.
every time I turn around, there's some new story about some bullshit you had to go through.
Or our
to
pizza.
Oh, you saw it, yeah.
like to get your money back or to get what you were like. It's it's incredible.
Yeah,
I've never seen somebody with that kind of luck.
it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
And then we find a random salad on the floor that we didn't.
Unopened salad, like, God damn it! How did that
How
get
did we
right
miss
there?
that? Yeah. I don't know.
Try to keep a clean house, and there's a fucking salad down here. Yeah.
I was sitting there about to, I think I was either looking for an energy drink or something. I was standing there, I think I was opening a bag of chips actually. And I looked down, I'm like, don't recall that being there. Pick it up. Huh.
Salad?
It's a whole salad.
We eat that salad. Wait, this is another salad?
Yeah. Yeah, I literally just finished eating the rest of it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes before that. That's wild.
Well, I want to do a review.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
Because man, you talked me into watching Landman,
I did.
and
Any of you guys seen this yet?
You guys
No,
have talked
you
me
have to
too.
watch it.
It's on my list now. I need
Yeah.
to watch it now. Thanks to these guys.
I got to say, first and foremost, I got to apologize to my wife for what I'm about to say. Allie Larder has never been hotter.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, she's crazy, and she's not
Yeah.
somebody you would ever
It's
want.
like she's playing a girl that like you've met this girl, we've all met this girl that's like irresistible looks, but has her whole life is falling apart. She's an absolute train wreck. Like think hairstylist that like
Oh, yeah. And,
has a pretty sizable coke problem kind of personality.
yeah, and she's
Sounds like high school.
Yeah.
unaware of her. If she's aware of how obnoxious she is,
Yeah.
she doesn't care because she feels entitled to the obnoxious behavior.
Yeah.
And so-
it's an incredible character.
Yeah, but out of nowhere comes Allie Larder into this series. Haven't seen her for years. Billy Bob Thornton, I've got to say, this is his best role I think I've ever seen him in.
I think he was
Better than Bad Santa?
I
better
think he
than
was
Bad
born
Santa
to play
by-
this.
That's
Yeah.
a bold statement.
Yeah.
I guarantee you will watch this.
It holds
and
up.
it will, yeah, and
So I love some bad cinema.
Aaron B. Spectator says, no apology necessary. Ollie Larder is hot.
thanks, babe. But like this show, the character-driven show. I mean, the story behind it, the cast that they got. They've got everyone from John Hamm to Demi Moore to. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to find my chapstick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you just set the mic down and go do what you gotta
You
do.
get up, can you grab me a beer?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll take one too, please. While you're at it.
I'm going for beer.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, what time do you guys close?
Are you over with a 40 ounce of PBR?
But yeah, like Billy Bob Thornton. Who else is in this thing? Because I mean, it's just everybody's in it.
John Hamm's in there. Demi Moore's in there. Ollie Larder's in there. A couple of young actors.
Yeah.
Who else?
it's-
Andy Garcia flies off the top rope toward the end there.
Yeah. So basically, it's about.
They're like a Danny Trejo away from being the all-time show.
Is
Yeah.
this a series, and is it going to have a sequel series, or is this?
If they don't pick up a season 2 off of this, I'd be shocked.
It's like 10 episodes are roughly an hour.
Okay.
yeah. And it's by the same guy who does Yellowstone. And
Yeah,
all that.
it's a Taylor Sheridan show.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
This
it's
story is
about
awesome,
it's set in modern times, and it's about oil barons and the guy who runs the business and the what are called landmans for oil companies, and how much trouble they go through between having to talk about lease agreements with cartels and all sorts of stuff. And then, but it's such a character-driven show because you follow his son, who's kind of the black sheep, who's trying to do his own thing, barely involved with the family at all, but still works for the company because he's trying to learn everything. His whore of a daughter who, like, he can't keep the reins over. His ex-wife who's married to another dude but moves back with him. And like, but all of that kind of side drama is all basically the comedy to a really well-written, driven show about like the ins and outs of this man's very stressful life. And he works for a billionaire oil baron played by John Hamm. And it is
John Hamm.
a phenomenal show. Like, I was glued to it the entire time.
They have a 6-minute dialogue in like episode 8 or 9 by the real Jerry Jones playing Jerry Jones himself descended from Dallas Fort Worth to go visit John Hamm's character and give him a life lesson lecture about the reasons he bought the Cowboys and how damn proud he is of them boys, but so much more proud that he got to work with his family and spend his twilight years. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like they just cranked everything up to 11 and it works over and over and over again throughout the show.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a fantastic show. And
You're
so,
just sitting there like, that's fucking Jerry Jones as himself. Like, wow.
And
So-
where can we watch this?
So it's, I think
on
you can get to
Paramount
it
Plus.
from
You can get-
Prime, but it's,
Get through Prime, yeah.
yeah, but it's a Paramount Plus show.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would give it 9 megs.
Really, 9 megs,
9
yeah.
megs.
So that's still about a meg higher than me, but
Yeah.
So for those uninitiated, the Meg, the movie The Meg, that's our rating scale on the movies is how many megs. And if it's a half meg,
First episode.
you can get the ass end of the meg, or you can get the toothy end of the meg if it's kind of trending a certain direction. So
Yeah.
it's 9 megs. It's a good show.
Yeah.
I thought you'd get a
I
kick out
can't
of
wait
it.
for season 2, and I know
Yeah.
we're not going to get it for another year and a half to 2
Yeah.
years. Like,
The spacing on production is
yeah.
pretty lengthy.
And I'm trying to catch up on like the prestige TV shows. Like I watched, there was one that started with Kevin Spacey, House of Cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was really good. And I went back and I watched like The Wire and Boardwalk Empire and The Sopranos and all the like classic whatevers to try and catch up. But this one's up there. This one's high rated. And then so what else? We cranked out a John Wick.
We did. I saw John Wick 4 for the first time, which
Oh, dude.
I've been an obvious, like everybody else on the planet, an obvious fan of the John Wick film.
You guys all seen John Wick 4?
Oh my
so.
god. I saw all 4 of them in theaters.
Nice. And you have? All right. How many megs for you? 1 being dog shit, 10 being perfect movie.
It's probably a 7.
7 megs.
I agree with 7. I was thinking
7
7.
next.
It was in my head.
Yeah.
That.
Third that.
It's never going to be like one of those, oh my God, it blew me away. But like,
It's not Heat. It's John Wick.
It's solidly entertaining. It's not, so my low ball comparison would be to compare it to the movie Drive.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you've
Yeah.
ever,
Gosling.
that movie, yes, that movie is, it's ultra violent. So if you love ultra violent,
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
you might
Big fans.
at least enjoy parts of it. But for a movie that's called Drive, there's very little driving.
Yeah.
And I went and saw that in the theater with a friend of ours, and the two of us walked out of the theater just regretting that we'd wasted
Yeah.
2 hours of our life on it.
Okay.
It's
When they did drive, did you point out, ha ha?
yeah, pretty much. Like we said, the thing we said is that we said they should have named it Stab instead of Drive.
Yeah.
It would have been more accurate.
I put my low bar as like The Room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad movie.
The Room is horrid. It's awesomely bad, but yeah.
I've never seen that.
I don't know. Borderlands was pretty bad, dude.
Borderlands was rough. I think it
love
could have
the
been more
game.
fun, but it was miscast.
I love
top
the
down.
game so much. I didn't want to taint
Yeah.
how much I love the video games
Yeah.
with the movie.
You don't need to.
just- yeah.
No. If you haven't seen it,
Don't
bother.
don't.
I already, instead of watching a preview was enough for me to like, I got better things to do.
Yeah.
I'd rather go play the video
It'll
game.
hurt your feelings. It's that bad.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fan of the game, it'll hurt your feelings. Yeah. So
No,
as far as John Wick 4, my meg scale, I would probably give it. I would start with a 7, but I'm going to give it a toothy end of a 7.5, strictly for a 3-minute nunchucks scene.
Yeah.
And
We got
then,
3 solid minutes of nunchucking.
yeah, and then and then
Like,
also,
God damn it, yes.
Also, that the dragon's breath scene, like
Yeah.
the rest of the movie was good in
Yeah.
a John Wicky way of not
The
making
way
sense.
that single follow shot from top down went from room to room throughout the house
yeah.
was
Yeah.
God.
cinema gold to
Yeah,
me.
it was absolutely beautifully shot.
My favorite John Wick is still number 1.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, first of all, it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But we just went along on the ride of like, who gives a shit? John Wick is going to kill 5,000 people in this movie. Before, go ahead and you guys give it your megs, and then I've got a question for you after.
I think we got 7s around the horn.
Yeah, 7.
Seven's around the horn. Okay, so that being said, we were talking because we're four deep on this John Wick train, right?
Yeah.
What?
The ballerina.
No.
Oh.
Who are they? What's the point of them? Who are they? Are they? They're an assassins guild, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like the only thing they actually do is try to kill each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know. And there's this hierarchy that goes all the way into the fucking desert with all these like crazy.
There's suddenly a
table
man above the table. Like,
Yeah.
that's plot convenient. Is there a man above the man?
What do they actually do?
He rules them
on
all.
the table.
Like we've just been kind of going along for the ride, but we never asked the question as to like, what do they do?
There's no dinner.
Because they're not assassinating anyone.
No, other than each other, right?
All the time. That's, Seems to be exclusively who they're after is one another.
Yeah, when
John Wick Civil War.
So it turns out all the bounties are just for each other.
yeah.
Right?
That's the whole bounty system is just for each other.
Yeah, all the coins.
Because
the
they've
whole-
never even explored the idea that any of them at all, even like John Leguizamo in the first one,
Yeah.
he didn't like go. None of the normies explained that. Oh, these guys assassinate like CEOs or
Maybe
you know,
they'll cut to somewhere in John Wick 5. They'll cut to like Jim Wick, his older brother, that's attorney at law, for like 2 seconds, and then like that building will explode or something. And you're
Right.
like, oh, okay, we're back to John Wick.
Jim Wick and his twin brother James.
Yeah,
I like biblical names. These are my sons, first, second, and third John.
Going back to the first one being the best one, I feel like that they explained it there where they hired him to wipe out another mafia family.
it's true.
Right,
But that's the last you hear of anybody doing their job.
Right.
The rest of it is just
But was
civil
the
warring
mafia
it.
family part of that assassins guild, and they were just killing each other?
Mafia assassins.
Yeah.
They used them maybe.
one scene, like some dude, I think it was in 2. One scene, some dude that like was at the Continental in Rome is like, he says in Italian, you know, are you here on work? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you're not here for the Pope, are you? And he's like, no. Yeah, okay, whatever. And it's just like, oh, okay. So it's like that one glimpse of like, you might have a job to do.
Yeah.
Nah,
Nah.
it's back to just killing one another.
Yeah.
It's like the whole time.
Waiting for him to give us the green light in the hotel.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so, but outside of that, I think that's the only thing I've really seen fresh. I went back and watched, due to one of our previous episodes, I went and watched Payback, the Mel Gibson Payback movie again.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, I had a good time watching that one again. So, but outside of that, that's pretty much all I've watched, just due to the fact that I really haven't had time. We've been way too busy here having
Yeah.
fun to.
Even watch a movie.
Yeah.
Before I left, I watched the Guy Ritchie movie with
Ungentlemanly Warfare?
no, the one before that,
Madonna takes it all.
The Gentleman?
The Gentleman. Yeah, with
So kinda, yeah.
that's a classic. It's
That's
in my-
good. The
it's in my
series is
library.
good.
Yeah.
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 I haven't seen the series yet, but I did watch that movie. And
Did we
man,
see
it was
what?
Solid.
Do you guys have any personal connections to any movies that you liked? Like where you knew somebody that was in it or worked on it or anything?
Turns out, so the new The Batman with Robert Pattinson in it,
Yeah.
there are several scenes where there is a girl at the nightclub that's kind of later on the arm of John Turturro's character in the final scene. And she also has a small dialogue piece with the Catwoman character when she chases her down and she's like, what Russian girl? And she's like trying to pump this chick for information. She's like, leave it alone, whatever. Turns out that is my real estate lady's husband's little sister.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so,
that's a good
and
one.
she's also a comic, I guess, which is cool. So she's done some stuff. And I was like, oh, shit. So that would
let's
be
get
the
her on
only
the
like
pod. That's a good
relational. Yeah, I've got feelers out. Our publishing company's reached out, but still nothing yet. No, other than that, I mean, the town we lived in was 20, 30 miles away from where they shot Dante's Peak. Is
Yeah.
that right? The Pierce Brosnan volcano movie.
I
And
rooted for the volcano.
I did
because
too.
Of that. I hate that town.
what about you?
Yeah, I've got a couple that I can think of. The first one is The Martian. The screenwriter that wrote that, Drew Goddard is his name. Look him up. I grew up playing baseball with him.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me, and he was on my little league team, and I played baseball through high school with him. And his younger brother is my age, but he did the screenplay for The Martian and The House in the Woods. Is another one of his movies.
All right.
He wrote that. He's a very well-known writer in Hollywood. And then there's. I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Go look it up. Lots of fun.
They did a small film, a little indie film called Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
is based around that.
Bingo, that's one. But there was a Gina Davis, Billy Crystal movie, and I cannot remember the name of it. But he was
Gina Davis and Billy Crystal
he
were in
was
a movie together?
he was a politician, or maybe it was Michael Keaton. I think it's Billy Crystal though. But he was a politician, and she was like his campaign manager. And it was filmed my senior year. It was filmed right in my mom's backyard. They were filming all up and down this canyon edge in this picnic scene. So nobody could go down there unless you live there. And I'm sitting there watching TV in my shorts and t-shirt on the floor of my mom's house, and friggin' Gina Davis goes walking through our backyard. I was like, what? And then right back the other way, because they were filming all up and down there. That one was wild.
I hope to have a close personal connection with a forthcoming movie. One of my best buds of all time, Dan Reyes, is like an exceptionally talented writer.
Yeah.
And I've been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing him to fucking do something with it. And for years, he was in television production. He worked for an NBC affiliate in Spokane and wrote the news, essentially, and like did all the back end stuff. So he started out like being the guy on scene with the camera, with the anchor or the remote person. Anyway, he finally breaks out a screenplay and finishes it.
Hero.
Sends it to
That's
me.
the name of the movie.
I don't think so. I think it's called Speechless.
Oh.
Sends it to me, and it's incredible. And so he turns it in. He's won 3 screenplay awards for this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like he's top 2 or 3 in this
Michael
competition right now. That in June, I guess he didn't even know this,
Michael
but there's a grand prize. And if he wins the grand prize, which the judges that are talking to him are like, hey, we think you should fix this or this, like little minor changes, but we really, really like this. But I guess the grand prize is that it gets optioned. And I was like, dude, like, I told you, like, you're one of the most creative dudes I've ever known. And this is really good. Like, I don't like horror movies and it's that subject matter, but the script is so well written. It's super fun, man. So I'm really hoping that he wins and keeps going. So things I didn't really know until talking to him about it is like over where he lives in Coeur d'Alene, there's a bunch of connected people to Hollywood. It turns out, like, I think Travolta's sister lives there and does a lot
wife
for the
used to
arts and grants and stuff.
Go to the same gym as her.
Yeah, and then I knew that Patty Duke had a house there and stuff, and Sean Austin's in and out.
I actually tattooed Patty Duke's ex-husband.
Yeah. So there's some people there, but
Which
I hope he wins.
I got a great story
excited.
about that.
Yeah.
So I tattooed Patty. He's such a good dude. He's actually one of the fire chiefs in our area too, an elected fire chief. And older guy, he was, they were roughly the same age, but he didn't start getting tattooed until he's probably right around 70.
Oh shit!
Wow.
And I've done a lot of tattoos on this guy now, right? And we've become really kind of close. And I didn't even know when he came in to get his first tattoo who he was. And then he had a memorial for his ex. And then he ended up telling me, it was her name's actually Anna. Patty Duke's name is actually Anna. She actually wrote a book said, "Call me Anna." And so, but he would, during the tattoos, he would tell me all the cool stories about her life in acting and how they met and all the people, because he also has like IMDb page because he's done producing and stuff like that. So, but he was a military guy. He was in the Army, and that's how they met. Is she did a TV made-for-movie like in the '80s about a real life story of a mother whose husband, they had kids, he was in the military and he died in the military. And she had no source of income, so she actually went and joined the military herself and became like a helicopter pilot and ended up actually being like rescuing a bunch of people. And they made a made-for-TV movie where Patty Duke played that lady, right? But in order for, he got assigned to her when she got to base, he was a sergeant, to teach her about
Patty Duke's widower. Thank you, Aaron B.
What's that? Oh, was she correcting me?
He was just Patty Duke's widower.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I say widow?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's typical of my wife.
You're correct.
But yeah, she derails me every time with that shit. But yeah, no.
Your nomenclature about.
But just like all the etiquette and stuff like that, and they fell in love, and but that's like Sean Astin's
falling in love.
Sean Astin's stepdad and stuff, right? So He telling me stories about all that. But one of the things my buddy got me the shirt because I love going down the rabbit hole that Helen Keller is a fraud. The whole the whole thing. She had a British accent. She flew a plane. She wrote books. Like there's no way that this wasn't a real thing, right? And I go on and on about it, right? So my buddy got me a T-shirt that says with a sticky note that says "Convince the world that Helen Keller was a fraud." So Patty Duke won her first Oscar for The Miracle Worker, where she played Helen Keller.
Not
right?
X, LOL.
And so, and I thought it would be hilarious to wear this shirt
While you tattoo.
while I tattooed her. And so I wore it, and he thought it was hilarious. And then said, she would agree with you. She met her, and in order to learn about the role, and spent time with her, and she goes, she said it was a fraud the whole time to her dying day.
See, and I convinced a ton of people that China wasn't real, and they would argue with me. I'm like, "Have you ever been there?" Well, no. And that it's not real. Well, I'll show you a fucking map of it. Here's a map of Middle Earth.
Yeah. They canceled my trip to China. Maybe it isn't real.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be West Taiwan, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
It's not an original joke of mine. I got
from the
that
horse's
from
mouth.
interwebs.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So Patty Duke confirms Helen Keller.
First-hand knowledge.
Yeah.
Celebrity,
here.
celebrity run-ins are always fun, though. It's always entertaining. Like, we ran into, my dad and I were standing at the airport in Los Alamos in the middle of nowhere, and this nice little light plane comes in and it lands and it taxis up, and we were walking back into the terminal, and it parks, and this guy and this gal hop out, and we were standing there, and we went up to the door, and my dad was putting some of his flight gear and stuff away, and they came walking up, and I look up, and Han Solo himself is standing right
dear
there in
God.
front of me, and it was Harrison Ford and Callista Flockhart with his wife.
Probably the only time a man would have given me a boner.
Yeah, well, and he was, and you look at him and you're just like I'm sure my face was just flushed. He said, "Hello." I said, "This isn't the place we expected to see you." He said, "No, it turns out he has his good friend from high school is a scientist at Los Alamos National Lab, and he was turning, I think, 50, because this has been like 20 years. And he was in town for the birthday party. He flew in to go to his friend's birthday party. And I was just like, he's his own pilot. They'd flown down from Wyoming. And the other one is, we used to play pool at a pool hall in Santa Fe as a kid. And you'd run into, and there's lots of interesting celebrities in Santa Fe, but Woody Harrelson played there all the time. And he was a hoot. Like, talk about a guy that's cracked, and that dude is cracked, but he's hilarious. And he'd go in and he'd just play pool with whoever was there.
Cool.
All three of my celebrity encounters were at restaurants, which is like the worst place you could meet a celebrity, is at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because they don't really want to be fucked with, and you kind of don't want to fuck with them because they're eating a meal. I did fuck with Wee Man, though.
Oh, yeah.
I ran straight up to Wee Man. I was like, "That's Wee fucking Man. Look, can I have a picture?" And he's like looking at the girl he's with, looking at me. She kind of like shrugs, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Fucking hurry up, dude." Yes! Took a selfie and fucked right off.
The funniest one I ever ran into was Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
Dude, so
You kicked him in the nuts.
I wanted to.
Were his armpits sweating?
I was working. We'll get there. I was working at a restaurant in Kirkland that was right on the waterfront, and like I'd seen Bill Gates and their stuff. And this was back when Gates had just left being CEO of Microsoft, and Ballmer had just taken over. Oh wow. And I was
Okay,
down.
that fills in my question of who the fuck is Steve Ballmer. I was like,
You didn't buy the Windows 7 Steve Ballmer edition in the black box with the gold signature? Because I had one.
Yeah, he's anyway. So
Cool, now I'm on board. Let's go.
We're downstairs. I was downstairs in the parking garage. I don't know what the fuck I was doing down there, and this old ass like
Dealing drugs.
1970s.
Drugs.
It might have been smoking weed. It honestly might have been, but this beater ass Volvo comes pull. I mean, it's like no muffler, like, and this guy and this raggedy looking woman and these two raggedy looking kids are in it, and it pulls in and parks, and there's a bunch of noise, and I go back upstairs, and like probably a minute later, in walks Steve Ballmer, who was the raggedy looking dude, and his wife, who, I mean, I kid you not, she looked like she was wearing a homemade dress from the 1850s, and she had this big, like, permed hair, like, just looked like a train
The Tokyo Rose of the trailer
Yes.
park.
and then his two kids, who both of them completely scraggly, like not dressed very well. They came in to eat lunch, and so the hostess went to seat them, and she takes them. She starts walking there, and I went walking behind them, and the BO coming off of those four was so bad that I was just like, oh my God, we're gonna get a complaint. But fortunately, it was like 2 PM, and the restaurant was pretty empty. For somebody that is rich as hell, I mean, he looked like
Well, he hadn't spent a single
he came
dime
in
since '84.
off a Little House on the Prairie or something.
That's a trip.
Until he bought the Clippers. But yeah, it was so weird. It was so weird.
No muffler.
Did you guys ever get traumatized by a movie growing up? Like when you were kids, like a scene in a movie?
Killer Clowns.
Okay.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
How did Never
Burglar
Ending
with
Story
Whoopi
ever
Goldberg.
traumatize you guys?
No. I
No,
love
like the
that
scene.
movie.
You love that movie? I have extra trauma from that movie. And I'll show you. I don't know if we'll be able to get it on camera, but
I hope you get to.
I got you braced.
wrong leg. It's the other leg. So
Well, now
this
it
tattoo
reveals-
right here, that was done by Noah Hathaway. Atreyu from The Neverending Story tattooed me right there.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Wow.
It's awful.
I blocked that out.
Noah, it's awful. Like, you know it is. But we became friends after that.
For those
but
that can't see it on YouTube, it is a black blob that vaguely resembles the
to
shop
be
logo.
fair, I hit it on a trailer hitch like 2 days after I got it. But Noah Hathaway came and did a signing at my shop. And we became friends after this, but on the news in Seattle, when he was in town visiting, the news came down and filmed him tattooing me because he's an amateur tattoo artist.
That's rad.
He married a tattoo artist in the 90s, in the drug-addled days, right, where he's doing a lot of meth and stuff, but he's clean now. But
Props, man.
but she taught him some things, and then obviously they got divorced, But so he's kind of an amateur tattoo artist. He's also a firearms instructor, and I'm trying to get him to come up to Coeur d'Alene, come shooting, and then do a tattoo. Yeah, absolutely. So my kids have like my daughter has a white horse signed by him. I've got in the shop. I've got a Never Ending Story DVD signed by him and stuff. But every time I do a Never Ending Story tattoo, like. On your
send
sister,
him the picture?
I sent him the picture, and then he posted on his Instagram. He's all, "Dude, my buddy Lucky did this. It's so rad." So.
Nice.
But yeah, but I got extra trauma from Atreyu.
I've met a few musicians backstage, but I don't count that when you get to go backstage. But like in the wild, are the only other 2 celebrity encounters was Dave Matthews. I served in Wallingford, and that was a fun day. And
Don't
then,
say it. Don't you dare say it, Aaron. I know you're watching.
And then I ran into Maynard James Keenan from Tool in the wild in Phoenix, Arizona. But other than that, it was Wee Man, and that was about it.
For 10 years, every time we drove through Wallingford, every single time my wife would go, "Do you know Dave Matthews lives here?"
Yeah.
Every single time.
That's funny.
Yeah, I know, babe. You've told me.
I haven't met any, like randomly running into, I haven't met any actors or anyone like that. Who I did meet was back in the Legion of Boom days for the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
There was, we got a call one day from a friend and said, "Hey, the main players from the Legion of Boom are here at Joey's in South Center. Sherman, Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Earl Thomas, all of them there having drinks."
Nice.
And I said, "We
Did you
gotta
watch-
go."
Go start a fight.
Did you walk in with a handful of red vines?
No, no. Good one though.
I get the reference. I got
Aaron B. Spectator says, Dave Matthews, exclamation point, laugh out loud.
So
She knows what's up.
So we sit down at the bar, and they have this section cordoned off to where they're sitting. So we're like, hey, what's Cam Chancellor drinking? And he said, oh, kettle and soda. We said, buy him one from us. So he came over after he was done drinking it, and he was talking to us for a little bit. Super nice guy,
Nice.
soft-spoken. You know, he's put you into next week with his shoulder, so he's got nothing to prove to anyone, right?
Virginia Tech alum,
Yeah.
woo!
So after that, I use the bathroom. So I'm walking up. I'm in the urinal. I'm taking a piss, and I see someone walk up next to me. And I'm just like, huh. In my head, I'm like, huh. Earl Thomas taking a piss next to me. All right. So I'm just like, yeah,
That's a great story for a podcast. Be like, Earl Thomas splashed a little on my shoe next to the stall.
Yeah, the way his life's gone, I tell you, you might want to go get an STD test.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was
forgot about
separate
that.
urinals. It was not a shared.
It wasn't a trough.
There's no
wasn't a
trough
trough.
involved. Thank God for that.
So you know, I finish up. I go over. I'm washing my hands at the sink, and he comes up and he's like, looks over. He's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "What's up, Earl?" It's like recognition. Just like I know you. You could have bothered me while I was pissing, but you didn't.
Yeah.
So that's my celebrity story.
We had Bill Clinton come to our high school when I was a sophomore.
Did you hide all the girls at the high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably should have. but I remember I got to
Oh God, I'm about to get suicided now.
Preschool assembly. No one wear a blue dress on Friday.
This is all on a podcast. We're good.
he's a scumbag.
Did he play the saxophone
Yeah.
for you guys?
No, he was there for.
What's the point?
Yeah, I think
It's the only thing he's good for.
I think
the sax tune.
the best part of that trip, so he has to travel with those armored limos everywhere, and they basically weigh as much as a tank,
Yeah.
right? So Los Alamos is 2 hours from any major airport, like Albuquerque. So but it has a substantial runway at the airfield there. So they flew his armored limos in on a C-130 and got in there, no problem, landed it, took him out. And then after he left, they loaded him back on a C-130 and they used a rocket-assisted takeoff,
Jade, what's it called? J something?
jet-assisted.
There's an acronym for
Yeah,
it.
I can't remember what it is, but
J-ass.
rocket assisted. It's RA something or other. But we all sat down at the end of the runway and took bets about whether or not this plane was actually going to make it off the ground. So the airport is up on the top of a mesa, and then there's a cliff about a quarter mile after, and then it drops down into a canyon. And this plane goes screaming down the runway with the rockets going, and there's friggin' rocket exhaust everywhere, and it pitches up and gets just level flight and flies down and then clears the end of this cliff and then just drops out of sight. And we're like waiting for the mushroom cloud, you know? And then you very slowly see it pulling up, but they dropped it off the end of the canyon, let it gain airspeed, and then it just very slowly
And that's the day
flies away.
America lost that hand of blackjack.
I was stunned. We were all taking bets, but that was the best part of that visit.
I had something very strange happen, probably routine, but it's never happened to me. But on the way home from my Christmas travels to Seattle, I can see Las Vegas is getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we're approaching the ground. And then I can hear the wheels come out, and then I can feel the plane initially touch down.
Yeah, Jay.
And then my guy just touch and go, and he went straight back up into the air, and Vegas got smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're just now leaving Las Vegas. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he flies way out there and then gets on the radio like 15 minutes after circling around, and because they have to let him back in the pattern because there's other flights scheduled to land. And apparently he's like, yeah, I didn't feel we had enough runway left, so...
Missed approach.
I was like, all right, well, cool that you decided to fucking hit the gas and put us back up in there.
Yeah.
But that's new. I've never had someone hit the ground and we're boom, 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 and we're going right back up. I was like, wow, it's a touch and go, and I've never been in part of that. That's
So
kind of cool.
that was his speak for he screwed up.
Yeah, he's like, we ran out of runway and I didn't like it, so.
I've executed plenty of missed approaches, but I too have never experienced one on a commercial aircraft.
that's my first.
Till the last 3 years.
Really?
And I've experienced 2.
Was it a Delta
Or
flight?
3 now. One was.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City, coming into Salt Lake.
Same pilot?
He was short final, probably less than a mile, and he was fighting wind.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
I should note that whole flight we had no service because it was so choppy
bumpy, yeah.
that they had everybody seated
Sitting.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, probably was wind, but yeah, he missed it.
you hear he gets short, and all of a sudden, full throttle,
Yep.
wheels come up, aircraft pitches up, starts to climb, and then the flaps come up, he cleans up and goes around. And
Well, it's weird because he applied the brakes, and so when you land and you're like, wham, and then everything starts to shift, and you got to kind of put a foot down.
Yeah.
And then we went like this.
Right back.
so you know what actually happened there?
No,
I could tell you what.
I was on the exit row watching the ground.
That
and
was actually a pretty serious pilot error. They forgot to arm the thrust reversers. Oh. So in any large jet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In any large jet aircraft, when you do your takeoff, one of the procedures that you have to do is disarm the thrust reversers because you don't want them to come on.
Yep.
And then as part of your pre-landing checklist, you arm the thrust reversers. And if they aren't armed, you can't deploy them. So you can't arm them once you've already touched down on the ground. So so he hit the ground, went to roll the throttle up to trigger the thrust reversers and didn't have them armed. And so when you put throttle in, the aircraft started to speed up again. So he had no choice.
Well, we got
but to
Jay
take
assed
off.
right off the fucking ground. I mean, we went forward and backward again, and the city got smaller and smaller.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep, that's what
it
happened.
was just the first time that it ever happened. I figured this happens more
It
than I
happens a lot.
realized,
I've
but
had it happen. So I had
It happens. Hold the fucking phone. Outside of movies, I've never heard of this happening in real life, and now you two just said it
all the time.
So now you put that curse is on me. Now this is going to
I
happen.
hope
the next
everyone's
time.
flight, they get a Jay asked for themselves.
I had it happen like 3 weeks ago. I was coming into Colorado Springs, and he was. So I know the air patterns there, and I know what the landing pattern is. You come down from Denver, and you come straight down. You make a right turn to the west, and then you make a left turn. And he was final. He was set up on final. The gear came down, the flaps came down, and then all of a sudden, gear comes up, flaps comes up. He banks hard to the left, goes down, swings back around, and then comes back and lands the other way because the winds had shifted. And he was short final. So that was the most recent one. In Santa Fe, I had it happen in May because the winds were so bad and there was wind shear. And he got, low, like 500 feet. He was at minimums and went around because there was all of a sudden a wind shear. So the plane started to drop. So he just firewalled it and climbed out. And then I had a landing, I don't want to call it a failure, but that's what it's called, coming into Seattle in February. And what happened there was, so when you come down through the clouds, depending on the type of equipment on the plane, some of the planes can get it all the way to the ground.
Curtis is a pilot, by the way, folks.
I am a licensed pilot. But most of them, you get to the minimums, and it's usually about 500 feet and a mile from the end of the runway. You no longer have time to recover the aircraft in the air before you land. So it's your decision point, right? And you'll hear, if you watch a video of any of those airliners, you'll hear it. It'll start counting out. It'll say minimums. And the pilots have to, you go there. And you get down. If you can't see the runway because the fog is too heavy, then you go around. But
Alaska has the ability to land through that, correct?
yeah, they do. They do. Some of their planes do. Not all of them.
Here's the comical bit about that. We get to the ground and then the flight crew says, well, and we had made up so much good time that we're still arriving our flight early, 60 seconds early, 1 minute before our scheduled arrival time. I'm like, that's not.
Still counts.
We got here on time, you sons of bitches. Don't.
I'm now renegotiating my decision to sit in. I always sit in the emergency for the extra leg room.
Yeah, that's
And
where I
like,
was. And
if they did that and pulled up, I would have opened that door and said, "Save yourselves, fuckers!" Jumped out.
You
Like
could
I
hear
could no longer sit in that seat.
like wheels coming down.
Yeah.
Wham! Brakes! Boom! Gas!
That sounds about right.
And we're all just like, I want to go home.
Yeah, I would have opened that door. I would have panicked and
Because
just
they
cranked that
swing
handle.
out, right? The way they swing in over here, and like way out. Like
I'm helping.
Yeah, and we spin around, and then there's no pattern for us to come back in. There's more flights, so we spin that bitch around again.
You know,
And it was wild. I'd just never been a part of that.
The
so.
wildest thing I ever got to do, my old neighbor was a C-17 pilot, big Air Force jet, cargo jet, out of McCord Air Base in Tacoma. And he was able to take me up on one of their training flights. And they went out over the Pacific and they were practicing what they call a combat descent. And there's two versions of it. There's the spiral descent, and then there's a stall descent. So the spiral one, they cut a very tight, very rapidly dropping spiral to come down and land on the runway. And the idea is that you can descend from cruising altitude of 35,000 feet to the ground within the perimeter of the airfield, so that you're not getting shot at, right? So that's one. That thing was freaky because you're in a steep corkscrew. Well, the other one, and it can only be done in the C-17 because in the C-17 you can deploy the thrust reversers while you're airborne. So what they do is they slow the plane down and then they push the nose over and put the thrust reversers in. So it basically just takes the plane and drops it, and you're like free falling in a friggin' giant 4-engine aircraft.
In a small house.
Yeah, exactly. A small building.
Yeah, small building with
And you're
wings.
going like that, and then they take the thrust reversers off, and they pull it up, and they put full power in and arrest the descent, and then do the landing. You ever seen the videos of people skydiving or like practicing like 0G inside of an aircraft?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Because of the
Yeah, if you're not fastened in, you're going to be floating in the air like that. It was wild, and he's just like,
Well, let's do it.
No big deal.
Yeah, let's go.
Got to find the right.
You
I saw
still got that buddy
people-
with the C-17?
He's still in the Air Force, but he's no longer.
man.
He's been
I saw people with, for
no
some
fun.
reason, they had cats on one of those military aircraft, like house cats. And they were doing, like, what would a cat look like in 0G when you drop the cat? And it was like doing this weird body bend where it's trying to land on its feet.
Trying to land on its feet.
And it couldn't, and it didn't know what to do. But it was like for science, but there's all these military guys, and they're like,
They're laughing
and they
at
pick the cat back up and pet it on the head, and then do it again, install it, and they're like, and drop the cat, and it's can't flip over.
Yep,
I was like,
can't figure it out.
dude, what are you doing? Is this taxpayer dollars? Yeah, it was on YouTube, so it had to be
Motor
real.
Perpetual energy of taping
peanut butter?
buttered toast to the back of a cat because neither one of them.
We'll just spin.
It's the energy generator.
Yeah.
Could solve the energy crisis.
That's our alternative energy.
needs fusion?
Buttered
We have
toast and
that.
cats.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can have some weird situations in aircraft, though, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's 11 o'clock, boys.
It is.
Do you have the good book?
I can go get it.
Yeah.
I can go
Yes.
We need the
This
good
is
book.
one of my favorite. Like,
get it. Do you want to volunteer to
podcast.
read from this
Oh,
book?
God, is it the Gen Z Bible?
It is. You know it is.
Yes.
Fuck
You're our
yeah.
guest reader this week,
Come on, man.
Curtis. You get to
So I was
you
thinking,
get to bless us with the word.
we were talking about Billy Bob Thornton
I bought
earlier,
this book.
Yeah.
and Bad Santa.
Friends, we close the podcast.
collaboration we need is Bad Santa and Violent Night.
Oh, that
Close
would
the
be
podcast
that would be
every
great.
week with a chapter from the Gospel by Gen Z. Generously donating his time is First Time Potter on this show, Curtis. Right here, chapter 35, Zacchaeus, please, if you would.
Who happens to have 3 teenage daughters. Well, technically,
So you'll-
almost 21-year-olds.
So you speak this fluently.
I do. Yes, I do. Jesus passed through Jericho where Zacchaeus lived. Now Zacchaeus had done everyone dirty and retired early, and he became that unemployed friend on a Wednesday. But when he heard Holy Bro was passing by, he wanted to see what all the fuss was about, but he couldn't, for he was a short queed, I think. I can't see.
Short king?
Short king, maybe.
Short king, yeah.
crown. Suddenly, bro had golden retriever energy for Jesus. So he climbed a tree just to see him. Jesus was here for it and said, "Ayo, let's vibe tonight."
Yeah.
Zacchaeus
As
was down.
Christ does.
Zacchaeus was down and said, said, "Say less." But the people who he defrauded said, "Bruh, it's giving unfair, for this man has been an op." So Zacchaeus entered his redemption era and said, "Chat, here's a quarter of all my stuff. Double it and give it to the next person. And if I have stolen anything from anyone, behold, I will use girl math and restore it back to them 4 times." And Jesus said, "That's what's up. This man passes the vibe check, for my salvation is rated E for everyone."
That's chapter 35, friends. My God.
I would like to add that I did in fact buy this book for my daughters, and they do in fact find it to be hilarious.
It's a winner every time. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. This was really
great.
fucking rad. I'm glad you guys got to do this with us.
Awesome
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Awesome weekend.
This was something I think we all needed. I think that we had probably the best time we could have had.
I think so too. Next month will be fun. You're coming back for
be
the
back.
Builder Show.
Yep.
Maybe you'll sneak down if you can get some time. You're coming back to do some work.
IBS for 3
You're always
days.
in and out at random
Next
times.
Next time I'll have the boy with me. Oliver
Yes.
will be here. So
Yes.
I'll be in Florida next month.
Yeah.
it'll be hockey time. We're gonna do some hockey action while next month while here. So
Nice.
Hopefully it's not snowing while you're in Florida.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it shouldn't be. It's supposed to be snowing in Seattle in the next week, so.
Someone on the internet said
believe
that
it
was
when I see
Canada's
it.
first strike for us prodding at them to be the 51st state.
like,
Was
oh, yeah,
the snow in Florida was the first strike.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Take that.
It's a serious thing down there. The last time it was cold like this, we showed up down there in February, and there was a house across the way that was getting remodeled because all the pipes had exploded in it.
Oh, because they don't insulate.
Well, it's like when Texas got that snowfall and shit, and yeah,
Same
it was
thing.
It's
brutal.
not built for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They say that you think this bad. Wait till we start committing war crimes, eh?
Sweet.
Well, on that note,
I'm not your buddy.
for Lucky I'm Angel.
I'm lucky.
I'm Paul.
Peter.
And the dude.
The dude signing off.